Hey everyone. I thought I'd just run through one of these Microsoft Docs IoT modules here, specifically the module on setting up an IoT Edge gateway, mainly because I need to refresh my memory on some stuff for a project for a client, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity to stream a bit today. I've got a slightly different setup than I have previously because I've noticed quite a lot of lag and stuff. So I've actually got two Surface Pros set up now. I've got a Surface Pro here that you're looking at me through, Surface Pro 4 and i7. It's quite old, but still quite performant. And that's doing most of the streaming grunt work and combining sources. And I've got a Surface Pro 7, which is my main dev machine, set up to the left of that, which is what I'm using to do most of the work here on. And I've got then OBS running on both of them and NDI transmitting a portion of my desktop from the Surface Pro 7 down to the Surface Pro 4. And so that's what you can see coming out there. So the tests I've done over the last couple of days seem to work quite well. I've added a ring light as well, so I've got a more natural looking colour. The lamp that I was using before, that was making everything look quite orange, very Donald Trumpy, which is not a good look. One thing I am struggling with though, the Surface Pro 7 seems to be throttling the CPU every now and again. It'll go right down to 0.8 of a gigahertz, and then have to sort of change the performance profile from high performance where it is at the moment to something else, then back, and then that seems to trigger it back into life. I've tried stuff like throttle stop, and that doesn't seem to help all that much. I think it's helped a bit, but not all that much. Anyway, that's all an aside from what I'm actually streaming about today. Being as I've not done all that much streaming, I thought I'd just check, just make sure that I am actually live, because that would be embarrassing. Well, it seems I am, and I wonder, is there any actual audio? I don't know. Difficult to know. Let's have a look. We'll see, I suppose. Yes, there is indeed. So that's good. So I'm not mute. Good. All right. So there's a heap of really good learning material here on the Microsoft Docs site for IoT. In fact, I've just got IoT Edge selected here, but you can select IoT, IoT Central, and IoT Hub as well. And then you're going to get quite a lot of decent material here, and there's learning paths as well as individual modules you can run through. So you can see there's a couple of pages of IoT stuff, and this is just the specific Azure IoT content. And obviously, as you're probably well aware if you know anything about IoT, the IoT content will spread out, it'll spider out into quite a lot of other things. And I mean, directly below this, see logic apps, and directly above, event hubs, and both of those are quite central to a lot of IoT projects. So yeah, it's a great site. I highly recommend you go and check it out if you've not before. But I'm interested in the IoT Edge module today, so deselect this lot. Then you can see right in the middle we've got set up an IoT Edge gateway, which is the part that I'm going to run through. It says an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know if that gives me an idea about how long it's likely to be. We'll see. The other thing to bear in mind is that I'm in a house full of children, so we may end up with noise happening every now and again, like there is at the moment. So that's something we're just going to have to deal with. Oh, this way. If only we could edit things like that out. My daughter brought me a jigsaw that she wanted me to help with. Anyway, as I was saying, we're going to run through this module here. I'm not sure how long it'll take. In fact, look, it says an hour and a half now. Interesting. Probably knows that I've read the introduction, perhaps. Anyway, so this module was, it's a theoretical, and we'll walk you through how to create an IoT Edge device. So Obviously, we're not using a physical IoT Edge device, although I probably could use a Raspberry Pi, but I'm guessing that's going to be out of scope. I've not run through this module. You can see I've clicked on this first item just to see what's involved, but I thought I'd leave running through the whole thing vanilla just to see what that actually gives me. So if I, so this module, we're going to create an IoT Edge device in the portal. That sounds sensible. Deploy an IoT Edge enabled Linux VM. So that's a good way to do it. We're going to even generate and configure CA certificates. So CA certification isn't one of my strong points at the moment, so that's going to be quite good. And then we're going to set up an IoT Edge gateway hostname, and then open an IoT Edge gateway device port for communication downstream devices. And we're going to create a downstream device and connect a downstream device. So that's actually quite a good module. No wonder it's going to take us well over an hour to do. There's a fair bit involved in that. It's expecting that we've got some knowledge of Azure IoT, which is good. Obviously, if you haven't, then this will still be valuable, but you may need to go back then and look at some of the higher level concepts of Azure IoT and some experience of VS or VS Code, which, that's fine. So we'll start with the introduction. And I'm not just going to sit here and read out what this is saying, because you can read it yourself, but I'll try and paraphrase as we go along. So there's the different patterns of dealing with IoT Edge here. And the first one we're talking about is transparent. So what you can have here is device. You can have your IoT Edge device, which is sitting there in the middle, and then you've got downstream devices, sensors or other lower powered devices that are connecting somehow through the IoT Edge device. This transparent one suggests that the downstream device has got enough capability that it can route its messages through the IoT Edge device, a Raspberry Pi or something like that, and directly up to IoT Hub. And those devices are completely unaware that they're communicating through a gateway. They get their own first party identity sitting in Azure IoT, and it just so happens that they're going through a proxy to get there. So that's what that transparent one means. Protocol translation. This is specifically for ones where they don't have the facility to talk directly to Azure IoT in a way that they would need it to do that. So traditionally you'd use something like MQTT or amqp to be able to talk up, or even HTTP. But it might be that they're a little Bluetooth device, and that's the only connectivity that they've got. So you need to then translate whatever protocol that is that they're talking in, and then create messages that work for Azure IoT. So that's what protocol translation is going to be doing there. And then identity translation. So devices that cannot connect to IoT Hub can connect to a gateway device. And the gateway provides IoT Hub identity and protocol translation on behalf of the downstream devices. The gateway is smart enough to understand that the protocol used by downstream devices. I've also got a cat, by the way, and the cat is deciding that now's a good time to come and say hello. So okay, we'll work with that. I know Layla's got Destructo Pup, so I've got Destructo Cat down here. Not nearly as cute, actually. So identity translation. I'm not quite sure what the direct difference is between protocol translation and identity translation is in their estimation. Downstream devices appear to IoT Hub as first-class devices with twins and methods. Downstream devices must embed additional identifying information in their messages. Okay, so identity translation will mean that although they can't talk directly to the hub, they still get a first party. They still get their own identity there. Whereas in protocol translation, you just send all the messages directly in one identity, and then another service like an Azure function or something needs to take that information apart then, and you must embed identifying information in there to make that work. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. So we've got a bunch of learning objectives here, and I won't go through them all. But yeah, I mean, basically what they said at the start is hopefully what we're going to get. And here's Destructo Cat. I'm going to go and deposit her on her chair over there. The world's hungriest cat, perhaps Garfield in disguise. So prerequisites, again, that's exactly what it said before, a knowledge of IoT and VS Code. And so they're going to give us a scenario here where we've been tasked to implement an IoT Edge solution for ensuring quality control. So we're going to use an Azure IoT Edge gateway, and only trusted devices are going to be able to connect through it. We're going to run offline, have the ability to run offline, and updating running modules from the cloud, as well as high throughput data transmission using MQTT or amqp, and the added benefit of a secure route for cloud publishing. So it's not actually stated up front, I don't think, here what type of gateway we're going to be deploying. No, I'm not entirely sure. But we have the basic sort of schema of what's happening here. So we have IoT Hub on the right-hand side up in Azure. And then in between that, we've got the gateway device with a root CA and then this intermediate CA and device CA. So my understanding of how certification works is that you start off with this big all-encompassing certificate authority-based certificate. And then you take leafs off that certificate and you give those to each of the downstream devices so that they can authenticate correctly. So that's kind of what that's showing there in that certificate chain. So get started by demonstrating what it would be like to implement on-site Azure IoT stuff on a virtual machine. So we will create an IoT Edge Device identity in IoT Hub in the Azure portal. Now, what's really good about these learning modules is that it gives you a sandbox in Azure. So you need an account of some sort, but it creates you a time-limited set of resources up in Azure that you can use for free to be able to go through this sort of stuff, which is really good. If you just want to play with it and go through a learning path like this, then it's completely free. And this is relatively new stuff. So if you've not seen that before, then that's pretty cool. It does say that some Azure resources are being limited, but I think they've actually lifted a lot of those restrictions recently. So it's asking us to activate a sandbox. And so it's going to go through a bit of stuff here. It's going to take a couple of seconds to be able to activate that sandbox. I probably could have done this before, but I wanted to show you what that process looked like. I suppose while it's doing that, we can have a look what else is going on. So we're in a scenario here, look. So it's the first day of the job as a lead IoT solutions engineer. And this solution is seen as high impact, with lots of teams across the company really relying on what it is we're doing here. So we're going to be automating a majority of our operations, and the supply chain folks think this is going to be help them optimize. And yeah, it's good. It's good to set some sort of a base level of what we're trying to solve, the problems we're trying to solve. So it's good that they've done that. The first thing we need is a registered identity for our IoT Edge gateway. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get I've only got 1 hour with this sandbox, which is interesting because I think it said that it was 1 hour and 40 minutes for the whole thing. So I'm not sure why they'd only give us 1 hour. I'm pretty sure that was 4 hours before. Either way, we'll see how much we can get done in that time. So what I can do is if we open this Azure portal button here, it'd be nice to be able to keep both of these on the screen at the same time. So we'll see how this looks. Now I'm running a stupidly big 50-inch monitor, and I'm apportioning part of this across it. So I've got to do this process here slightly manually because I've not set fancy zones up to do exactly this. So we can actually make that reasonably tight across there, can't we? And then I just want to make sure that I'm getting as much bang for buck on my screen real estate as possible so that you can still see everything. So there we are. So we're actually in this Learn sandbox on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit just in case it's a bit small. Hopefully you can still see everything. Hopefully the text on this right-hand side is big enough. Now I suppose actually, now I've done that, it'd be better if I put the text on the left-hand side because my head is obscuring some of that, isn't it? So let's do that, shall we? It's a fun little bit of learning, if nothing else. I'll remember that for next time. So no, my head isn't stopping you from being able to read the words on the left-hand side. That does look a little bit small, so I'm just going to zoom this in so that we can see what this is actually telling us. Hopefully that's a little bit easier to read if you're there. So yeah, we've opened that up and we need to create a resource, and the first thing we're going to do is create an IoT hub, and that seems to be the first place you start with anything if you're going to do anything IoT, of course. So I'm going to hit this create an IoT hub. I wonder if it knows that I've had one of these open before because I've actually already got an IoT hub there according to that. Let me have a look in these resource groups. So I've not done many of these modules this way, so there is a subscription here. Let's see if there's an IoT hub in that or if it was just cached. No. So that was interesting. So I don't know what that was actually trying to tell me there. Unless it kind of notices across different directories, but either way, let's do that. So if we create a resource and see, I've done IoT Hub so many times that it knows. And here we have an IoT Hub, and if you've not created IoT Hubs before, then there'll be other modules that can go through that. But here we can hit the Create button. And we need to make sure we choose the concierge subscription. I've actually got other subscriptions, but because I'm signed into the sandbox, I can't see them. There is a resource group there, so we could use that. In fact, look, for resource group, enter that. So yeah, we don't have to enter it. I think select would be a better way of doing it. And then a region. The region should be geographically close to us. So I'm going to choose, I'm not going to choose UK actually, I'm going to choose North Europe because that tends to have quite good availability. And then an IoT hub name, I'm going to call that PJG IoT Hub 1. Now, size and scale look, so some of these modules don't go into certainly the introduction to IoT Hub don't go into the next blades on it, and in fact you can skip it just by pressing review and create. But we can leave all of this as default, so that's telling me that that we don't need to change any of the scales. Open up advanced settings to see the number of partitions. Leave all entries as default, yeah, so although you'll not be charged if you leave it as S1 standard, so that's fine. And then we can hit review and create, so we can do that. And that's just telling us exactly what it is, so there's S1 standard with 1 unit, which means we can get 400,000 messages a day and 4 different device to cloud partitions. So that's good. Create that. There's a new section there, which you might see there is the connectivity. You can have public and private endpoints now for IoT hubs. That's relatively new as of build, I think. This takes a little bit of time to create, so we can read on about what we're going to do and then we can just do it to save a bit of time. So on the IoT Hub summary, under Automatic Device Management, this section of IoT Hub allows you to manage IoT devices connected to the hub. So we can add an IoT Edge Device, which is obviously what we're here to do. And we need to enter this as the device ID. The value is the device identity used for authentication and access control. It's not particularly obvious here what it's talking about with your ID. So I'm assuming we just make something up here and stick it in, and it's not particularly important for later. Let's hope not, eh? select symmetric key for the authentication type and leave the auto-generate keys box. So obviously we're not going to do certificates yet. We must be switching to certificates at some later point. And then once the IoT Edge device is added, we need to click on the device ID and we need to grab the connection string, which is obvious. We need that connection string so that the simulated IoT Edge device has a way of connecting up to IoT Hub. And then notice list of modules, Edge Agent and Edge Hub. So modules are actually like mini Docker modules that are running on the Edge device. And they're orchestrated by the Edge runtime that runs on the device. And two of the modules are the Edge Agent and Edge Hub. The IoT Edge Agent and Edge Hub modules are part of the IoT Edge runtime. The Edge Hub is responsible for communication, and the Edge Agent deploys and monitors the modules on the device. So I've got another talk on how DevOps fits into all of this lot, but essentially what needs to happen is that if you update a module somewhere, then it needs to come down onto your IoT Edge device, and I'm sure that it'll talk about that at some point. And also they need to be able to talk to each other and stuff, so that's what some of them are doing. This is still creating on the right hand side. Nothing is ever fast when you're trying to do stuff live. Oh, so the hub's created. Let's have a see if that's actually working or if it just thinks that it's done yet. So again, if you've not looked at IoT Hub, I'm not going to deep dive into that because look, we've only got an hour in our sandbox, so I need to kind of go reasonably fast. But this is the overview page, and you get some metrics down here as well. And then a bunch of stuff down the left-hand side for us to look at. A lot of the time you'd just be dealing with IoT devices here, and then the shared access policies. They're the two of the places that you start out looking, and then you can look at routes down here as well to be able to send messages to different places like Service Bus and stuff like that. But we're going to go into IoT Edge. I think in their image, oh no, it wasn't. I thought it was the other way around in their image. So we need to add an IoT Edge device here at the top. And I already copied the device ID, and I'm going to put PJG IoT Edge 1. I'm hoping that will be okay. And then save. And then when it's created, it wants me to click on it. And for all intents and purposes, it's very similar to a regular IoT device at this point. But we're going to get some extra stuff like the runtime down here, and then these modules are going to automatically appear, and there's managed child of devices at the top as well. But a lot of it's similar, but for all intents and purposes, it's an IoT Edge device with this gateway capability. So we want this connection string. Can somebody at Microsoft please make it so when I click this, it says copied, like in a lot of the rest of the portal? Because the number of times I've done that and it hasn't actually copied, and I've pasted some other gunk into my connection string. Certainly if you're pasting it into an obfuscated field and you don't even know you've done that, it can be quite frustrating. So it's one of these, I'll just keep clicking it, until I'm pretty sure that it must have copied at least one of those times. So we've copied that. Notice the list of modules. Click the Set Modules button it wants us to do. This section is used to add additional modules. Leave all the fields as they are in modules and click Next Routes. Oh, okay. Right, I wondered what we were doing there. Well, there aren't any modules. Click this. So what's it say? Click the Set Modules button. Leave all the fields as they are in the modules. Okay, yeah, and just press Next Routes. Within specified routes, the editor will display the configured default route for the IoT Edge device, which is fine. So from messages into upstream, upstream being the IoT Hub. If the route configured doesn't match this definition, then update it to match that route. From /star into upstream. Route configuration doesn't match this definition. So, okay. I'm not quite sure why we don't need messages in there. The from part of the route will match all device to cloud messages or twin change notifications from any module or leaf device, then into the upstream. Oh, okay, so it must be any message at all rather than messages from just the gateway, I guess. Oh, there's a learn how to deploy modules and establish routes article that we can look at if we really want to. Again, we don't have time. I'm going to click the review and create button. Validation passed. Wait for it to finish doing that. So we're going to get a document here, a JSON document that lets us configure that if we want to in another way, just by using code, which is good. But we don't need to worry too much about that for now. So that looks like that's finished, which is good. Congratulations, that's the end of that unit. So the next one, we're going to create an Azure IoT Edge enabled Linux virtual machine. Oh, exciting. So we can deploy a virtual machine that uses our newly registered device identity to connect to the cloud. And we're going to deploy an Ubuntu server VM. So, oh, look at this, deploy to Azure. Make sure you've activated the sandbox, which we've done above. And then we'll deploy the IoT Edge enabled device using an ARM template. So click on that. I don't really want it to do it that way. I wonder, can I? No, it's going to carry on and do it. I'll go back to the content in a minute when it's finished doing what it's doing. It's frustrating that it doesn't open that in another tab, isn't it? And then I could have just dragged it over there and it'd been happy. So in fact, what I will do is drag it over, stick that over there, and then if I go back to what have we got? Did I copy it? No, I didn't. That's annoying. Do it this way. That's frustrating. Let's find the one we were doing. This one. 25% of the way through apparently, so not doing too badly. My screen up here, I've got a green screen on order, and that should be arriving today at some point. I've got a blue bed sheet at the moment, and a chroma key set for that, and it works okay, but if you get any amount of light changes or stuff happening in behind, then you end up with some aberrations appearing. So don't worry, I'm not being stalked by ghosts, but you can sort of see that. I think every time I move my chair, perhaps the thing I've got it set up on is moving. So anyway, I digress again. So we'll need to now fill in the available form fields. So we're going to use that same resource group, obviously. And we need to be using the same location. So I used North Europe, I think. I hope I did. Let's have a look. Does it say somewhere? Oh, yeah, it'll say in here. Look. My IoT hub. I think it was North Europe. I need to make sure they're in the same place, not only for latency, but sometimes you can get data ingress and egress charges if you don't. Although we're not going to get charged for this anyway. But yeah, North Europe. So that's fine. Just thought I'd make sure on that. And this is where my processor decided that 0.8 of a gigahertz is perfectly fine. Look, and so if I now switch my processor speed down to best performance and back up to or better performance and back up to best, then we get the real speed of the processor back again. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it's doing that. It's really frustrating. It's done it since I've bought it actually. So yeah, never mind. So DNS label prefix. Oh, okay. Now we know who's done this. Paul DiCarlo is one of the IoT PMs. So DNS label prefix, something like this. PJG IoT. Admin username. A resource group choose a I've done that. That's up there. That should be flicked around. Enter a username of our choice. I'm going to do PJG IoT. And a device connection string. Enter the device connection string for the device that was created within your IoT hub. So I should still have that one. If you don't know what that was, by the way, if you've got the Windows clipboard activated, you can do Windows V, and then you get a clipboard history. You need to turn on clipboard history, but once you've done that, it's super useful for stuff exactly like that. VM size should be left at their default values, okay. And the OS type, yeah, and location, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Resource group dot location, okay. Authentication type, set password, and then enter a password. I'll do PJG IoT 1234. Oh, look at that. It's not going to let me do it. So I'll do PJG in capitals IoT underscore 1234. How does it want now? One lowercase, one uppercase, one number, and one special character. I've done that. PJG IoT underscore 1234. Oh, special character underscore obviously doesn't count as a special character. Why is that then? PJG IoT 1234 exclamation mark. Oh, must be. Oh, see, now it's not long enough either. So, all right then. PJG IoT underscore Edge 1234. Ah, how am I going to remember that now? I'm not going to be able to remember that. So let's put it in this tablet. PJG IoT underscore 1234. See, I forgot it even in then. It was underscore Edge 1234. And in fact, let's make sure. And by copying that, and I'll paste that into the password. And then at least I've got that written there somewhere. In fact, I'll just get a notepad open and just save that. That's it's a little bit, yeah, frustrating from a. Obviously, I don't want to use a well-known password of my own while I'm demonstrating this. That would be bad. So I've stuck it in Notepad. Look, boom. So there we are. When all the fields have been filled in, select the checkbox at the bottom of the page to. Well, there isn't one. There isn't a checkbox, but maybe on the Review and Create button on the Review and Create page there is. No. So nothing happening there. So I'm just going to click Create. I don't know if you can hear my children upstairs. The usual infighting that happens when you've got two girls. Actually, if you've got two children of any type. I don't need you to remember that. Thank you. Notepad is doing my remembering for me today. Now we wait again while we deploy. So while it's doing that, let's see what else he's doing. Verify that deployment is completed. Should be deployed to the resource group. Take note of the machine name. The value should be in the format VM something of. Oh, actually already deployed some stuff. So that's the machine name VM just there that it's creating. Also take note of the associated DNS. Wow, that's actually mega fast. I didn't think that that would be as fast as that was. Yeah, that's pretty impressive actually. So take note of the VM and also take note of the associated DNS name, which is this public IP address. Oh no, well, we can go to it, can't we? And we'll find that. So let's do that. Now a check on my processor speed because everything seems to have slowed down again. And surprise, surprise, look, we've dropped down to 0.7 of a gigahertz again. And so everything is jerky and horrible. I'll cope with it for now and then see what happens. So we've got a bunch of stuff it's created for us now in here, but even that's slow, so I'm not going to cope with it. There we are. Yeah, and look, see the difference now. Well, you probably can't because, you know, frames per second, but I can. So we need to go to the virtual machine, which is this one. And then, obviously, we've already taken a copy of the name, which is somewhere. Where's the name? Oh, there. Just there. And it wants us to take a note of the DNS name as well. So copy. I see that says copied. That's nice. Can we please have that everywhere else in the portal? The DNS name can be obtained from the overview section. So that's fine. So congratulations, that's the end of that one. So next we're going to generate and configure some certificates so we can securely connect the two. So let's do that. I mean, this will be why we've selected symmetric keys to begin with, because if we select certificate, you need the certificate, chicken and the egg. So we've waited till this point, I guess, to get the certificate. We need to ensure that only authorized devices can publish data. And certification is obviously that, and TPM modules are the two go-to ways of authenticating in production, not symmetric keys, because that assumes that you've got to store the key on each device, and well, that's not very sensible to do. If you need to revoke something, then you can revoke it in the hub, but yeah, certificates are the way to go. In this unit, you'll generate test certificates using some tooling on Linux. Only authenticated devices are going to be able to connect, which is good. So we need to generate and configure the certificates. At the top of the Azure portal, click on the Cloud Shell icon to open up the Azure Cloud Shell. So that's this look. If you've not been here before, this is a really handy bit of tooling that you can execute PowerShell commands or Bash. I wonder, it's actually going to be Bash that it's going to ask us to use. So that's going to allow us to dial into the Bash shell, I guess, on the Linux VM. Follow the instructions to create the necessary storage accounts. Let's do that. Oh, what's it say? Storage creation failed. Can't create a storage account. Please try again. Well, why? Let's pull this up a little bit. Try that again. Why not? I don't understand why that would be. File share create. Oh, hold on. Look, just below, it's telling us. If you're using a Sandbox account, you may receive the following error message. If you receive this message, scroll down, show advanced settings. Look. So I was kind of going to do this anyway, but thankfully somebody's already told me about that. So my IoT file share. Oh, create new. Okay, we can do that. My IoT storage account. And use existing is fine. West Europe. I'm going to do North Europe because that's where I'm putting everything else. Don't think there's anything else. Yep. Create storage. Let's see what that says. Well, they've thought of everything. I just should have read on. I'm glad I didn't sit there for ages trying to figure it out and then spot that. Navigate to the IoT Edge Gateway virtual machine within the portal. Is that actually doing something here? Oh, okay. I can't have that. PJG IoT Edge Storage account and PJG IoT Edge Share. Create storage. Oh, that was a little bit more complicated than I thought it was going to be. It is creating. Okay, so we've done that. Navigate to the Azure IoT Edge Gateway virtual machine within the portal. So we're there. On the overview pane of the portal, click the connect button at the top. I'm just going to wait for that to actually finish connecting the terminal, just in case that's something we need to do. Okay. Within the connect to virtual pane, select the SSH option. Yeah, that makes sense. And then look for the section run the example command. Run the example command. There. Yeah, an example SSH command to connect to the virtual machine contains the host name, blah blah blah, and my ID, which makes sense when prompted. So within the Cloud Shell, paste in the SSH command. Yeah, Control V. Yeah, it's Bash. That's not going to work. So we have to right click and do paste. but we need our private key path. Well, is that going to work? Have I copied the right thing? Oh, modify the command. Ugh. I really should read the instructions instead of trying to skip ahead. But I am just a bit conscious that I've only got 1 hour with this sandbox, so it's not very long. So I think I've modified that right, have I? IORID, yeah, that's fine. Oh, well, no, I haven't. SSH. Oh, I don't need the -I. Apologies. Yes. Oh, okay, I will type yes. Warning, permanently added. Now I need to type that password. It all seems very familiar, like I've done this before. Which I've done something very similar, in fact, when I was running through another set of instructions from Ben Carbe, who's created a whole IoT infrastructure workshop that you can run through. It's quite cool. Either way, I need to paste in my password. Enter, and all being well, assuming that I've done all that part correctly, then yeah, then that's a sudoed in look. SSH'd in rather, sudoed. We probably will be using sudo in a minute though. So that's all good. Once connected, the terminal will change to show the name of the Linux VM, and that's right. So that's what our Linux VM is called. The Azure IoT Edge GitHub project contains scripts, so we're going to clone a GitHub project. Look, I'll just click copy there. Paste that in. Do I need to do that in a directory before I do that? On the fuck, no. Okay. Just in the root. Okay, we can do that. It's open source, an official source project. That's good. Run the following commands. Yeah, not particularly difficult. So let's paste this one. Oh, I see. I didn't copy that. Let's try Control V again. Yeah, see, it really doesn't work, Control V. Even though it says it does there, look, it doesn't. To generate the certificates, run the helper scripts. So we can do this. Copying and pasting for a living here. Right. These commands will copy just the necessary files, the rest of the source files within there. So you can do ls or dir, whichever you're happy with. So there are 2 files. This command should output that there are 2 files in the directory. Okay. So certgen is a helper bash script, and openssl.conf file is a configuration file needed for generating the certificates. Okay, that makes some sense. I'm hoping that I've not been in the way of anything that I've been doing, by the way. I've not been keeping very good tabs of where I am in this. But by the looks of it, I'm okay at the moment. But hoo-ha. So we need to... okay. I'm assuming it's... oh, okay. So RIN certificate. So it's telling us to ls. Oh, okay, that's just giving us an idea of what it should look like. Okay, that was confusing. Probably because I distracted myself. The path maps to home, username, blah, blah, blah. Username is that. Okay, that's fine. You'll need to use this directory location later. Certificates. Okay, well, we can do that. The certgen sh help script is run with the create root and intermediate parameter. So run the script by executing the following commands. Certgen. Oh, okay. So it's a bash script. So that's what the ./ is doing there. So it's executing it. So generating some stuff. Certgens are not for production. Yes, don't be naughty and try and use test certs in production. The script created several certification files. So there's a bunch of stuff in there, but there's also a certs directory. But the script creators have made note of the following root CA certificate file that will be referred to later. Azure IoT Edge. Oh, so inserts. Yeah. Azure IoT Edge, test only, root CA, cert.pem. That one then. No, root CA, that one there then, is it? Azure IoT test only, root CA, that one there. Okay. Make a note of the following. I mean, do we need to make a note of it? Maybe we just take a copy of this and be happy. Might need to copy and paste it in later, but I can't see why. Now that the root CA has been generated, the IoT Edge Device CA certificate and private key need to be generated. Run the following command to generate a device certificate. Yeah, makes sense. So you'd have a CA certificate, the main one up on the hub, I think, and then a device certificate for the IoT Edge device, and then each of the other devices downwards from that would have leaf certificates. And I think, as I say, certification isn't one of my strong points actually, so this is good learning for me, if nothing else. So let's run that. And uses my Edge device CA as the name of the CA. Okay, I don't need to change anything for that. Oh, cert gen C. Oh, yeah. Let's try that again from the right directory. And that's finished. The generated certificates are created with the name specified to this command. If another name is used, then we'll reflect that name. The script creates several certificate and key files. Make a note of the following files that will be referred to later. Okay. Back in certs again. Let's have a look in certs again. The process has dropped down again. I don't know if that is obvious. Really frustrating. So drop down and back up again, and we should get a nice speed boost. And the temperatures of my surface aren't all that bad either, really. If I show that, and we're running at, well, 70. Now, that's not horrible, but it must be thermal throttling perhaps. But I've seen it do this down below 50 before, so yeah, I don't know. Anyway, to confirm that the IoT Edge is installed, run the following command. Oh, hold on a minute though. Do not rerun the previous command that generates. Doing so will overwrite the existing certificate, the new one, and I'll match. So that's fine. I don't need to do that. I did that, so we've got the Edge device CA and the root CAs and stuff like that. So that's good. So I'll come out of there again. And then we'll do IoT Edge version. Yes, 1.0.94. See, it's quite a long way away from when this was written. I wonder when this was written, actually. Does it say? No, it doesn't. To configure Azure IoT Edge, then we're going to use a YAML file. It needs to be modified to contain the full path certificate files. Before the file can be edited, you must make sure the config YAML file is not read-only. Run the following command. So paste that in. And so that's made it writable, and then run the following command. Oh no! In VI. I'm never going to be able to exit this. Locate the certificate section within the file, removing the leading. Okay, see if we can find that. Device connection string. That's there. That's good. Let's find this certificate. Certificate settings. Certificates. So before the certificate to uncomment those lines. So I'm guessing all of these, like that. And then edit the certificate settings to contain the correct certificate and key paths. Oh, okay. So this is the reason why I can't just give it to us, because and why we needed to take a note of it, because our it's home and then our username and then all of that. So that makes sense. So let me have a look. Did I? Let's have a look. Let's have a look, see if I copied something that... And I didn't. I see now it makes a bit more sense why they were asking for that. So I'll have to look a bit further down how you exit VI. Some tips for using VI. Look, press the I key in the editor to go into insert mode. Press escape to stop insert mode. To save and quit, type that. Okay, to quit VI, type quit. Quit. That's how you quit VI then, look. No right since last change, press add to override. Okay, so quit exclamation mark. So I need all of this. Oh, do I though? Or can I not just replace it with home and then username? Okay, so what username did I choose? This. Ah, look. This is what it's actually referring to. Oh. Burke. Kind of. It's not really that. This section here should be telling you to take a copy of this data, really, because it's that we've got to paste in. We need home username certs, the full chain, the dot key, and the root cert. So let's scroll up, see if we get enough of this. That's the Edge Device cert. So the first one is this full chain cert, test only. Not that. Intermediate cert. That's probably why you can't copy it like that. Well, that's more than a little frustrating that there's nothing we can actually copy directly from. Or is there? Is it up here? Ah, look. It probably does say it actually up here a little bit further, maybe. Let's have a look, just for fun. Hey, it's that. Oh, it's right up there, right at the blooming top. So kind of maybe it's easier to grab it from somewhere else, but we want IoT Edge Device CA, but we're going to need this Azure IoT test only root.ca.cert file, that one. Let's copy that. And see, I've got no idea if Control C is going to work, so I'm going to have to do right click and copy like an animal. And I'm just going to check if that's gone into my clipboard history, and it has. So the next one we want is the full chain and also the key. So let's see if we can find them in this list here. And there's probably an easy way. I'm probably butchering the way to do this, but this is going to work for me, I'm sure. Even though it might be slightly slower, and you'll be wagging your fingers at me saying, "Why don't you just do it this way?" What do I want? Full chain and key. Full chain cert PEM, that one then. I could probably just attach those correct things on the end, actually. So really, you know, that is a slower way of doing it, because I only really need that first part, don't I? The home PJG IoT. And I could have just remembered that from earlier, but that's the benefits of just knowing up front. Was the PEM one in there? The .PEM, is it that? My Edge Device CA .key .PEM. No, it's not that one, is it? I just wanted to see where these ones were. That's the intermediate one. Oh, we know what it needs to be now anyway, so let's go back into this. And then we're already in the right place, so that's quite good. Didn't realise it would do that. So we only really need the very first part of it, and then I can just paste on the cert that it wants to put. So, oh yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what I modified there, if I modified anything, but oh, it's okay. So read the instructions about what I'm supposed to do. Press I in the editor, be insert mode, and be able to make changes. Oh, okay, well that's good then. I, okay. Press escape to stop insert mode. So can I delete now? Yes, it looks like it. I don't use VI, I use Nano if I'm in Bash. I think a lot of people will be swearing by VI, or swearing at it when you can't exit, as that standard joke goes. So let's just paste in, actually let's get the right one for this, which was the full chain cert. This one, and I'll paste this in now. So we know that one's right, and just double check. This is obviously quite important. IoT Edge Device CA, IoT Edge Device CA, my IoT Edge Device CA, full chain cert.pem. Yeah, okay, so it's definitely that one. And then we're going to need the device ca.key.pem, which we need to put in here. So I'm just going to paste in the same thing again, and then I'll scrub out the end part. Actually, I can just do this. I'll just copy the start part in there. Certs. Oh, you see, no, it's not even in certs, it's in private. Private. Well, don't know why I did that. I could have just copied that section. Let's copy this. Paste that in there. Okay, and then it's the certs one again. Apologies if I'm making this look difficult. I probably am. Paste. And then we want this. Paste. So are we right? Do we think now we've got the edge device.key.pem? I mean, that looks okay to me. The X509 certificates are used in the following purposes. So, excuse me, the device CA cert, that's a setting for the device CA certificate for the IoT Edge device. Device CA PK, that is the setting for the device private key for the IoT Edge device. And the Trusted CA cert is a setting for the root CA certificate. This certificate must contain all the Trusted CA certificates required for IoT Edge communications. So that's good. So we can save and quit with what I did before, with :X. Oh, no, I need to turn off insert mode with escape first. Now I can do :X. And press enter, and that looks like that's saved. I hope it did. Tell you what, let's look, shall we? Oh yes, they're still there. So :X. Now we need to restart the IoT Edge service so that it can pick up all those latest changes. So let's do that. Standard way that you restart a service in Linux. If the runtime doesn't restart successfully, you'll want to double check that you modified the YAML file appropriately, and with all that faffing around, it probably would have been within its rights to not restart properly, but it did work, so that was good. The MyEdge device CA certificate must be downloaded from the IoT Edge gateway virtual machine, so it can be used to configure the IoT Edge device enrollment. Type exit in the Azure Cloud Cell to end the session. Done that. Within the Cloud Shell, run the following commands. Okay, so we need to make a certificate directory. And I still can't paste. Frustrating! I wonder, is there a setting that allows you to do that? Somewhere. New version, upload, download files. I don't think there is, you know. So, paste. I could have typed that faster. Right, and then I need to paste this in. And then I need to change this stuff here. And that was the PJG IoT user. And then it's the DNS thing, which we can get from the overview section in here. We'll copy that. No, I think it did copy it. paste? Yeah, it did. Colon. Oh, what have we done here? That should be at. Colon's at the end. That makes sense. Paste that, and then when executing the command, enter the admin password. I mean, what have I done wrong now? That looks okay. Complaining about. Oh, I'm missing a dot. Now I need to enter that password from before, which I've still got in Notepad. I nearly scrubbed it out earlier, so glad I didn't. Now it's copying our certs, which is cool. Lots of stuff it's getting there. So it's yeah, okay. Let's just make sure that I think personally that that's not going to actually. Oh, okay, no, it has. And they're all in there. That's good. Phew. I thought maybe it'd all pasted down here in the root, which would have been annoying. There's not that much in there, so we've done that. Once command is executed, we've downloaded a copy into there. Oh, and look, it's done exactly what I've just done there. You'll be able to easily download the IoT Edge certificates to your local machine. The files can be downloaded from the Azure Cloud Shell using the download and file command, which I'm assuming we will be doing in the next module, maybe. Does it tell us somewhere at the top how long our gateway has got, our sandbox has got left? No, it doesn't. So I don't know how long we've been going, if I'm honest. Let's have a look. Live for an hour. It's going to, hopefully it won't kill our VM, our whole sandbox before we get time to complete this. The testing team, so set up an IoT Edge gateway host name. Okay. Static IP may not be the best idea since we'll eventually deploy the solution to an internal environment. So they're pinging an IP address of the virtual machine at regular intervals, but getting difficulty. Perhaps we forgot to set up a static IP address. Okay, but the static IP might not be the best option because we might well deploy to an internal location, so maybe there's a better way. And we need a reliable mechanism for connecting to the IoT Edge gateway. And IP addresses are fine for testing, but if we set up a DNS name, then we can update the associated IoT Edge configuration. So in this unit, we're going to configure a DNS name for the public IP address of our IoT Edge W. Is that the actual? Oh, that's the VM. Okay, yeah. And configure the DNS name as the host name. If necessary, sign into the portal again. We don't need to do that. We're already there. I'm not sure we'll need this anymore. I'll leave it there just for now. It's not going to cause us any difficulties. Navigate to the IoT Edge virtual machine, which is where I am. Go back to the overview. Full DNS name is composed of blah blah blah, which is all of this that we copied before. All the public IP address DNS names will be at .cloud@azure.com. The DNS name for the public IP address of the virtual machine provides an FQDN, a fully qualified domain name for the downstream devices to use as a gateway host name. Since the VM is accessible across the internet, an internet DNS name is required. The Azure IoT Edge gateway is hosted in a private hybrid network, and the machine name needs to meet the requirements of a gateway host name. On the overview pane of the virtual machine, click on the connect button. With the connect virtual select SSH and then copy the login. You can modify this sample SSH command, which will be used to connect the virtual network that contains the IP address of the VM. Navigate to the Azure, click Cloud Shell, bash, connect to virtual machine, select. Oh, okay, so isn't that exactly what we've done before? So surely we can just up into this, and it's that command there, isn't it, I think? Yeah, that's right. Interesting that, I mean, maybe they just assume that you're just going to come back in later and have forgotten or not done those previous modules, we need the password again. And we're logged back in again. Yeah, that's fine. Done that. I've done that. When prompted for the password, I've done that. So we need to, can we just do this again? Sudo config.yaml. Locate the Edge Device hostname section. Now, is that up or down? I don't know. I'll go to the top. And then we know where we are. Oh, home works. That's impressive. Edge Device hostname. Hostname, is it this? Edge Device hostname section. Yeah, it's this one. Update the hostname value to be set to the DNS name set previously for the public IP address of the Azure IoT Edge Gateway machine. Did I miss a section somewhere? I don't remember setting anything before. No, it's actually telling us it's just going to be that. So yeah, it's exactly the same. It's our DNS name. Oh, okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So yes, we need to do that, but I need to remember to press I, and then delete that lot, and then paste that. That was that silly password from earlier. Paste this one in. Oh, now what's it doing? Thank you. Paste. So that's that. The hostname setting configures the Edge Hub server name regardless of the case used for this setting. A lowercase value is used to configure the Edge Hub server. The value of the hostname that downstream devices will be using to connect. And there's some more helpful tips, but we can escape and then :X, enter, and that saves that. And restart the service again. I could have just pressed up. The Edge runtime doesn't restart successfully. Oh, it's remarkably fast. Not quite sure why that would be that fast. Still got a version. Congratulations, end of that unit. In the next unit, we will open up the IoT Edge device ports. I mean, this 1 hour sandbox, it's not looking particularly good at the moment. I think we're going to run out of time, personally. We're on unit 6 of 10. We've not actually created a downstream device at all yet. So the security operations team has informed us they need to conform to company policy to only allow authorized devices to communicate to production devices. The team watches everything that happens, potentially block us. To meet this requirement, we can employ firewall settings that explicitly authorize predetermined ports. This unit will configure the network security group that secures access to Azure IoT Edge Gateway from the internet. Necessary ports for MQTT, blah, 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 need to be opened so the downstream IoT devices can communicate with the gateway. Open the IoT Edge Gateway device ports. So we need at least one of the IoT Edge supported protocols to be open to inbound traffic. That makes sense. And they're going to run on these ports for MQTT, AMQP, and HTTPS. So the IoT communication protocol chosen for your devices will need to have the corresponding port opened, which makes sense. So if necessary, log in. In production, so we only want to open the minimum number of ports. Okay, we're using MQTT, then only open 833. Open additional ports will introduce additional security attack vectors. Quite right. So navigate to the resource group for our virtual machine. On the resource group blade, click on the network security. Resource group blade, click on the net. Oh, okay, in the resource group. So directly in the group rather than. Oh, well, I'm going to click that. Never mind. On the resource group blade, click on the network security group resource. Yeah, this. Click on the inbound security rules under the settings section. There was a triangle against that. I'm not quite sure what it's telling us, to be fair. See, I'm glad I didn't close that before, so I needed it again, didn't I? On the add, so we need to click add. On the add invoice, change the destination port ranges to 8833 and set the name to MQTT. Oh, destination port ranges. Set the name to MQTT. This entry will define an inbound security rule that will allow communication with the MQTT. Click add. More shouty children upstairs. I'm not sure if it actually comes through on the mic or not. It's a reasonable mic, but it's not awesome. And I don't have any fancy RTX stuff going on either, so yeah, you'd probably hear all sorts of stuff cracking off in the house. To open ports for AMQP, add 2 more rules. Okay, well, I mean, it's kind of just told us above that we shouldn't be doing that, but I suppose we're just learning here, aren't we? So we need to do 5671 for AMQP. And then HTTPS at 443. Add that. So they're added. With these 3 ports, the downstream devices are going to be connecting. So that's good. So that's that module done. Quick, I mean, it might need to go faster. We're going to close our whole sandbox. I hope it doesn't. Does it say anything here about our sandbox? No. We don't know yet. We're now ready to set up downstream device that will be registered for communication with our IoT Edge device. This process is required for onboarding new sensors into the manufacturing line. We aren't sure of the exact specs of the device at the time, but the research development team tell us that it will ensure regulations are met. And we're going to create a new IoT device identity in the IoT hub for the downstream IoT device. The device identity will be configured so that the IoT Edge gateway is the parent device. Does that make sense? So we need to go to our hub and click on IoT devices. So there's our hub, and then we can go to IoT devices down here. Did I go to my hub? No, I've gone to the log analytics workspace. So I'm not going to find it there. There. IoT devices. Create a new device. New. Enter downstream device 1 as the name. Device ID. Okay, select symmetric key, the event, and leave auto generate keys. That's interesting. I thought we'd be using certificates, but perhaps there's more we need to do. Under the parent device, select set parent device. We should only have one device to choose from here. That one. And press OK. Done that. Yeah, hold on a minute. Click save, yeah. I missed that step. I thought we were going to be able to get the connection string before clicking save, which would have been interesting. So downstream device, we need to take a copy of the primary connection string. Now you see this downstream device can look very similar to that IoT Edge device, only now we've got that parent device set in here. Still got modules, but there's nothing to do with that for this. So we need to take a copy of the primary connection string. Click it millions of times just to make sure that you've actually got a copy of it. Congratulations. Oh, we're speeding along now. That's good. Unit 8 out of 10. Connect a downstream device to IoT Edge gateway. Someone just tweeted me. Elizabeth just tweeted me. Well, let's respond to her quickly. we're now ready to connect our first sensor. We'll be using a modified Azure Connect device. Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. These things are awesome. And consists of a module for reading the temperature and humidity of our manufacturing floor. Easily manage operations for explicit temperatures. So, if necessary, sign in again. At the top of the Azure portal, click on the Cloud Shell. So, we've already got that all open. In the Cloud Shell, run the following command to download the root CA certificate. So, let's do that. Paste. Please don't kill my sandbox before I get finished. This will be really annoying. Okay, what's wrong with you? Oh. That. Paste. Oh, there we are. I downloaded that. I've not done that before, so that's pretty cool. So the Azure IoT Edge Gateway was configured with that YAML file previously to use the root X509 certificate for encrypting communications. This X509 certificate needs to be downloaded, copied to the downstream devices to allow for encrypting communications with the gateway. Well, that makes sense. So we need to obtain the contents of the downstream device folder available in. Obtain the contents of the downstream device folder available in that. What? What's that doing? Let's have a look. Does it mean it wants me to download this? Oh, yeah, because I'm going to be using that. I guess I'm going to be running this somewhere. I thought there was like a download at this point. Oh. I thought I could download just that. That's not particularly easy, is it? What's it saying? Oh, surely. What have we got in here? I would have thought that we'd have cloned that repo or something like that so that we can get access to that. That's not particularly useful, I don't think. I mean, it's not even I can't even download from this page either. Is that because I'm running this in a smaller tab? Is that what it's complaining about? Let's have a look. No. I can edit it. Go to File. Yeah. Well, that's a little bit annoying. What's it actually saying again? Oh, I'm going to have to do this locally, I guess, anyway, aren't I? So, okay. I am going to just make this faster for myself. And let's give myself a little speed boost. Okay, so if I just go to my C drive, I'm going to create a directory called IoT Edge. Go in there. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Back. I'll tell you what I can do. I'll just do this manually. This is annoying. Do this in code. I could clone the repo as well, but I don't know how big the repo is. So it could be there for ages, cloning the repo. So what I'll do, I'll just create these files manually. I'm sure there's a way to download these files. I must be just having brain fade. So apologies for that. What was the name of the file? I think I can I just right click on it and download it? Is that what I can do? Save link as. Is it going to let me do that? Was it going to be? Oh, it is. Okay. Cave device. Okay, yeah. CS podge. So let's stick that into my IoT Edge. Save that there. Save this here. Yeah, okay. It's still early in the morning, even though it's nearly 11 o'clock. And they're in here anyway, so I probably would have had to have done this anyway. So let's have a look back at the instructions now. Close that. Copy the X509 cert to the same folder as well. Okay, I can do that. Oh, no, stop it. Downloads. That one there. I'm going to move it to that directory, so I don't need it again after that. Open Visual Studio Code. Oh, look, I wonder if I had to do this anyway. It's like, you know, I knew what was happening. File open folder, so I've done all of this. Downstream device folder. I probably could have just right-clicked on the whole downstream device folder maybe and just downloaded that. Anyway, apologies. Open the simulated device source code. Locate the declaration for S connection string and replace the value with our IoT hub connection string for downstream device. So that's good. So let's do that in here. Peter Shaw's us, look at you getting all professional and serious. You ought to see me over on Twitch, pal. Right, what does it want us to do? Getting distracted. Locate the declaration for S connection string in here somewhere. In the simulated device.cs. Oh, hold on, wait a minute. No, see, look. That's not that file, is it? This has downloaded the HTML. Is a CS pod, and the same for the CS pod file. That's just stupid, isn't it? So, okay. Bloody hell. That's what I thought it'd do, actually. There must be an easier way. As with anything. So, right, happy with that. Go back, please. Program.cs. Raw. Let's copy that. Paste that into here. Yeah. And that looks a lot more like what I would have expected it to be. And this is the connection string that it wants us to insert, which is this downstream device. Again, Windows clipboard comes to the rescue. Cave device. Cheese cave, maybe. Alright, what next? Let's get rid of that. Well, that was highly frustrating and took a long time, and hopefully in that period of time it's not taking too much time away from our sandbox environment. Anyway, modify the IoT hub connection string to include the gateway host property. Okay. IoT hub name. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on a minute. Have I done something wrong here? Locate the declaration of S connection string. Replace the value with the IoT hub connection string. Modify the IoT hub connection string to include the gateway hostname property. But if we copied it, then it's going to be the same thing. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. IoT hub 1. IoT Edge. Oh, VM. Oh, hold on a minute. Oh, am I skipping ahead, trying to go too fast? Am I misreading this? Locate the S connection string property. We did that. let's stick this here as well, look, so that we can see both things at the same time. No! I was trying to move VS Code there, please. Alright, do that. I'll move you then. I'll move you back. Really must set up different fancy zones for doing something like this so that I don't have to do that. Anyway, locate the declaration of S connection string. Yes, but it's not even called S connection string. So am I doing something wrong? I mean, it's not called simulated device, is it? Open the simulated device CS. I mean, no wonder I'm confused. Downstream device. It's not called simulated device. .cs anyway, and locate the declaration for S connection string and replace the value placeholder. Device connection string and authenticate the device with the IoT hub. So that's fine. It should be stored within the environment variable passed in. Okay. Modify the IoT hub connection string to include the gateway host name. That's a bit confusing because that's the IoT hub name. That's fine. IoT hub primary key and host. Hold on a minute now. Hold on. Yeah. So it's not that connection string. It's this. Not really reading what it's saying. I was kind of just expecting that it would be that same one. So I'm going to need those bits in a minute, but let's just close that so I have a bit more space. Host name is IoT hub name. So I mean that part was the same. So and what was it? It was PJG IoT hub 1. So that's fine. And the device ID is downstream device 1. We did that. Shared access key, the IoT device primary key. I copied the whole connection string, and I really only wanted the primary key. So I'm just going to, over here, you won't see that bit, I'm going to grab the primary key, which is actually the shared access key. Mind. IoT device there. Primary key for that, which is this. Just there. And then the gateway host device DNS name. The DNS name set for that, which was our VM. And before, which was this. My oh my. This is because I'm rushing, I think. If I was sitting here on my own, not worrying about this 1 hour time period, I probably wouldn't be as bothered, but I'm pretty sure when I return it'll be gone, and that'll be really frustrating. The S connection string variable, the connection string would look like this. So public blah blah blah. Yeah, just they've changed the name. Yeah, so some sort of a hub. Yeah, which is fine. AZ220, by the way, is the IoT exam, the certification, Microsoft certification. Azure devices, downstream device 1, shared access key is that, which is fine. Gateway host name is that. So that all looks like it's right to me. Save the file. Locate the main method. And it must be at the top. Where is it? Main, okay. This method contains the code that instantiates the device client using the configured connection string and specifies MQTT as the transport protocol. Use in communicating, which is all of this lot. It also executes the install CA. I see they've got it on 2 lines there. Send device to cloud message async. Install CA method, which is some code automatically install the root CA certificate, which must be in that somewhere. What is it, F12? Oh, see, muster it as part of the method somewhere else then. This. Oh, install CA. No, locate the send to device async method. Just went there a second ago. This method contains the code that generates simulated device. Locate the install CA cert method and browse the code. Oh, it's that. It did take me to it, just didn't move the. Yeah. Open the command prompt and navigate to. I should be able to do this here actually. New terminal. I mean, this is assuming that you've got .NET Core installed here. So .NET Run. I've got the latest version of .NET installed, so this is like quite an older version of stuff here. So I'm hoping that stuff's not broken. I've got .NET Core 3.1.301, I think it's the latest version. It might prompt me. Ah, yeah, it did prompt me. Let's press yes to that. Can I zoom in? Yeah, there you are. So that's telling me to trust this certificate. I do trust it. I downloaded that a minute ago. And once it's running, Mr. Shaw on Twitter making fun of me. I'll get you. Once the simulated device is running, the console output will display the events being sent to the gateway. Once it's running, and just while it's doing that, I'm just going to have a look at my portal and just make sure that that's still running. Oh, it still seems to be available, at least. So, okay. What's it doing then? Right. Oh, okay. Do I need to run that again then? I would have expected to see that work. I am going to just check that everything is working by trying to connect to the IoT hub with my Azure IoT Explorer device here, just to be sure. IoT hub. Oh, look, because my sandbox has stopped. Now, that's massively frustrating and goes to show that 1 hour isn't enough. And I'm betting that it will have deleted everything. So if I refresh this, yeah. And how frustrating is that? I mean, where are we? We're at step unit 8 out of 10. And I didn't hang around all that. In fact, I rushed through some of that, and that really wasn't long enough, was it? And I'm guessing everything is gone. Let's try going to... here. Oh. I'm hoping that this will just sort of reactivate everything I had there before, but I don't hold out much hope whatsoever. As it says, it's creating the storage account. I don't hold out much hope. 1 hour. So that essentially nullifies everything I've done, which is really frustrating. Let's have a look. I don't think there'll be anything in here personally. No, what a surprise. So yeah, thank you for my 1 hour, but really that isn't long enough to get anything done with this particular module. So it sounds like I need to feed that back. But hopefully somebody got something out of what I did manage to get done on there. If nothing else, the fact that if your time runs out after an hour, then you have to start all over again. So that's a little bit frustrating. I'm not sure how I could not read any of that stuff and know what I'm doing and probably get that done in time, but I can't see any way that you'd get that done if you were just running through there in an hour. I'm sure though yesterday that I got 4 hours, so I don't know if something has been restricted somewhere today. So I don't know if it's always an hour. I'm sure it was 4 hours when I did it yesterday morning. Not this, another thing. So yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do all of that again. So what I might do is I might run through all of that sort of in super quick time and then start a stream afterwards, and then you can sort of carry on in part 2 of this stream, if you will. But yeah, I can only apologise, but I mean, yeah, you saw what I was doing there. So I will leave you all with it, and I'll catch you again soon.